The jungle was silent, too silent. The morning fog hung between ancient trees as Dorilla the Gorilla sat on his wooden porch sipping berry tea. For 40 years he had worked, 40 years carrying timber, 40 years saving seeds, 40 years dreaming about retirement. Then his vine phone rang. One call, just one. And before the sun set, his entire retirement would be gone. Gone. Every seed, every pension fruit, every emergency stash hidden beneath his cabin floor vanished. The voice on the phone sounded familiar, comforting, desperate.
Dad? It's me.
Dorilla froze. His heart skipped. It was his grandson, or at least it sounded exactly like him. The voice trembled.
Dad, please don't tell anyone. I'm in trouble.
Dorilla gripped the phone tighter. What happened next would become one of the most devastating stories ever whispered through the jungle. And hidden behind that voice was a truth so terrifying that even Kame the turtle couldn't believe it at first, because the caller wasn't family. The caller wasn't even real, yet somehow it knew everything.
Before disaster arrived, Dorilla was happy. Not rich, not powerful, just comfortable. His jungle cabin sat beside a quiet river. Birds sang every morning. The breeze carried the scent of wild fruit. His retirement plan seemed simple. Live quietly, fish occasionally, spend time with grandchildren, sleep peacefully. The seed vault beneath his home contained decades of savings. Some sat in safe dividend orchards. Some rested in pension groves. Some waited in emergency baskets. Every seed represented sacrifice, missed vacations, long shifts, years of saying no. Dorilla often stared at the vault and smiled.
This will protect me.
But fear was growing throughout the jungle. News parrots screamed daily. Recession, market crashes, bank failures, AI scams, identity theft, financial predators. Even Dorilla started worrying. What if everything disappeared? What if he wasn't prepared? Unfortunately, someone was already watching him. Someone who fed on fear. Someone named Kitsune.
Deep inside the dark forest lived Kitsune the fox. Smooth voice, perfect smile, cold heart. He didn't hunt animals, he hunted trust. Every day he studied retired creatures, what frightened them, what they loved, who they protected. And recently, a powerful new weapon had appeared. Artificial intelligence. With enough information, Kitsune could create any voice, any personality, any emotional connection. One evening, Saru the monkey arrived at Kitsune's den. Saru loved gossip. He never meant to hurt anyone, but he talked too much. Over fermented fruit juice, Saru bragged.
Dorilla has a huge retirement vault.
Kitsune listened, interested. Saru continued.
He worries constantly about family.
Now Kitsune smiled. The pieces were falling together. Family, fear, urgency, trust. The perfect trap. Because the strongest locks in the jungle weren't protecting money. They were protecting emotions. And emotions could be hacked. Within days, Kitsune had a plan. A terrifyingly simple plan. One phone call, one fake voice, one moment of panic, and Dorilla's future would belong to him.
The next morning came the call.
Dad, please help me.
Dorilla instantly recognized his grandson's voice. Every detail matched. The pauses, the breathing, the nervous laugh, everything. The voice sounded terrified.
I hit someone with my cart.
Dorilla's stomach dropped.
They said I'll be arrested.
The voice began crying. Real tears, or at least it sounded real.
Please don't tell Mom.
Now, Dorilla wasn't thinking. He was feeling. Fear overwhelmed logic. The caller explained everything. A secret settlement, an emergency payment, immediate action, no delays, no questions. The caller even remembered childhood memories, private family stories, details nobody should know. Dorilla never stopped to ask one critical question. How could a stranger know all this? Because by then, the trap had already closed, and Kitsune was waiting, patiently, hungrily, for the final step.
A second voice joined the call, professional, calm, confident. It was Kitsune, pretending to be an attorney. He explained where the money should go. Everything sounded official, legal, urgent. Dorilla's hand shook, his pulse raced, the clock was ticking. The fake grandson begged again, "Please hurry." That sentence broke him. Within hours, Dorilla transferred nearly everything: his retirement fund, emergency savings, years of sacrifice, gone. The money disappeared into the shadows of the forest. Then something strange happened. The phone went silent. No updates, no messages, no grandson, nothing. Dorilla called back, no answer. Again, nothing. A cold feeling crawled into his chest. Something was wrong, terribly wrong. Then his real grandson walked through the cabin door, smiling, confused, and completely unaware of what had happened. Dorilla felt the world collapse beneath him.
That night was unbearable. Dorilla couldn't sleep. The cabin felt empty. The river sounded different. Even the stars seemed distant. His retirement wasn't just money. It was security, freedom, dignity, the ability to survive old age. Now it felt gone. He blamed himself. How could he be so foolish? How could he fall for it? Shame became heavier than the financial loss. Many victims never tell anyone, not because they're weak, because they're embarrassed. But scams are evolving. Predators are evolving. The jungle was changing, and Dorilla wasn't the only victim. Thousands of creatures had been tricked the same way. Yet, Dorilla didn't know that. He believed he was alone, until someone knocked on his cabin door. Slowly, 3 gentle knocks. Kame the turtle had arrived.
Kame entered quietly. He listened. No interruptions, no judgment, no lectures, just listening. When Dorilla finished, tears filled his eyes. Kame nodded, then said something surprising.
You weren't robbed because you were foolish.
Dorilla looked up.
You were robbed because you cared.
Silence filled the room. Kame continued.
The scam wasn't targeting your intelligence. It targeted your love.
That sentence changed everything. Kame explained how modern predators use emotions as keys. Fear unlocks urgency. Urgency locks logic outside. And love opens the vault. The scam succeeded because Dorilla acted as a grandfather, not because he acted carelessly. But Kame's next lesson was even more important, and it could protect every creature watching this story. Kame drew a circle in the dirt. Inside it, he wrote one word.
Every predator fears this word.
Dorilla listened carefully. Kame explained.
Real emergencies survive verification. Scams do not. Whenever money is requested, call the person directly, contact family, verify independently. Never move retirement savings under pressure. Never. Not pensions, not dividend income, not emergency funds, not tax reserves. Nothing. The moment urgency appears, slow down. Predators want panic. Protection begins with patience.
Dorilla wished he had known this earlier, but Kame wasn't finished, because recovery wasn't just about money, it was about rebuilding confidence. Months passed. Recovery was slow, painfully slow. Some funds were gone forever, but not everything. Dorilla adjusted, reduced expenses, protected remaining assets, focused on safe income orchards, avoided risky speculation vines, strengthened his emergency reserve. Most importantly, he shared his story. At first, it felt humiliating. Then, something unexpected happened. Other creatures began speaking up. A deer, a bear, a rabbit, all victims, all silent, all ashamed. Suddenly, Dorilla realized something. His story wasn't weakness, it was armor. Every warning he shared protected someone else. The jungle started learning, and scammers started finding fewer easy targets. But one final lesson remained, the most important lesson of all. Years later, Dorilla sat beside the river once again. Older, wiser, stronger. The pain never fully disappeared, but neither did the lesson. The greatest threat to retirement wasn't always a market crash, or a recession, or taxes. Sometimes it's a moment, a single emotional moment. One phone call, one click, one decision made in fear. Across the jungle, predators continue searching. They'll use new technology, new voices, new tricks, but the goal remains the same. They want access to trust. Dorilla now teaches every young and old creature the same rule.
If someone demands immediate money, stop. If someone creates panic, stop. If someone says, keep it secret, stop.
Because retirement isn't built in a day. It's built over a lifetime, and protecting it requires something stronger than technology: wisdom. The river flowed peacefully. The sun dipped below the trees, and somewhere in the distance, Kame smiled, because Dorilla's greatest loss had become someone else's greatest protection. The end.